Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be able to welcome today, for the sixth time, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, to Germany. In his capacity as President of the United States, let us remind ourselves, after visiting us in his capacity as candidate here in Berlin. We then met in Baden-Baden. We then met in Dresden and Buchenwald. We saw each other when he gave a speech at the Brandenburg Gate. In Elmau, we met again at the G7. Then Hanover Fair comes to mind. And today he is again here in Berlin. So 8 years are coming to a close. This is the last visit of Barack Obama to our country, to Germany.
Sometimes it may seem as if progress is stalled, but what the history of post-war Germany shows is that strength and determination and focus and adherence to the values that we care about will result in a better future for our children and our grandchildren. And on behalf of the American people, I want to thank the German people. I want to thank Chancellor Merkel for your deep friendship and your steadfast partnership. So, vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, you and the President-elect have very different views on Russia. After your meeting with him last week, can you assure Chancellor Merkel that a Trump administration would also support strong sanctions against Moscow? Similarly, what have you told President Putin about Russia's influence on the U.S. election, and how would you advise European countries to deal with the same threat? And lastly, if I may, would you like to see your friend Chancellor Merkel run for re-election next year? Frau Merkel, eine Frage auf Deutsch.
Pulling out your German, showing off.
Has the American president calmed you in the sense that on the policy of his successor on climate change and Russia, he has allayed your fears? And are you concerned that the common European policy towards Russia will collapse? And after the election of Mr. Trump, would you, as a sign of stability, wouldn't you actually have to declare that you are going to be a candidate again?
Well, I try to make it a rule not to meddle in other people's politics. All I can say is that Chancellor Merkel has been an outstanding partner. And, Chancellor Merkel is perhaps the only leader left among our closest allies that was there when I arrived. In some ways, we are now the veterans of many challenges over the last 8 years. And although we have not always been in sync on every issue, in terms of our core values, in terms of her integrity, her truthfulness, her thoughtfulness, her doing her homework, knowing her facts, her commitment to looking out for the interests of the German people first, but recognizing that part of good leadership on behalf of the nation requires engaging the world as a whole and participating effectively in multilateral institutions. I think she's been outstanding. So it's up to her whether she wants to stand again, and then ultimately it'll be up to the German people to decide what the future holds. If I were here and I were German and I had a vote, I might support her. But I don't know whether that hurts or helps. With respect to Russia, my principal approach to Russia has been constant since I first came into office. Russia is an important country. It is a military superpower. It has influence in the region, and it has influence around the world. And in order for us to solve many big problems around the world, it is in our interest to work with Russia and obtain their cooperation. I think we should all hope for a Russia that is successful, where its people are employed and the economy is growing and they are having good relationships with their neighbors and participating constructively on big issues like climate change. So I've sought a constructive relationship with Russia, but what I have also been is realistic in recognizing that there's some significant differences in how Russia views the world and how we view the world. The values that we talked about, the values of democracy and free speech and international norms and rule of law, respecting the ability of other countries to determine their own destiny and preserve their sovereignty and territorial integrity. Those things are not something that we can set aside. And so on issues like Ukraine, on issues like Syria, we've had very significant differences. And my hope is that the President-elect coming in takes a similarly constructive approach, finding areas where we can cooperate with Russia, where our values and interests align, but that the President-elect also is willing to stand up to Russia where they are deviating from our values and international norms. I don't expect that the President-elect will follow exactly our blueprint or our approach, but my hope is that he does not simply take a realpolitik approach and suggest that, if we just cut some deals with Russia, even if it hurts people or even if it violates international norms or even if it leaves smaller countries vulnerable or creates long-term problems in regions like Syria, that we just do whatever is convenient at the time. And that will be something that I think we'll learn more about as the President-elect puts his team together. I am encouraged by the President-elect's insistence that NATO is a commitment that does not change, and his full commitment to NATO as the foundation for our international security, I think, is very important. And finally, in terms of my conversations with President Putin, these are conversations that took place before the election. As I indicated, there has been very clear proof that they have engaged in cyber attacks. This isn't new. It's not unique to Russia. There are a number of states where we've seen low-level cyber attacks and industrial espionage and other behavior that we think should be out of bounds. And I delivered a clear and forceful message that although we recognize Russia's intelligence gathering will sometimes take place even if we don't like it, there's a difference between that and them either meddling with elections or going after private organizations or commercial entities, and that we're monitoring it carefully, and we will respond appropriately if and when we see this happening. I do think that this whole area of cyber is something that, at an international level, we have to work on and develop frameworks and international norms so that we don't see a cyber arms race. A lot of countries have advanced capabilities, and given the vulnerabilities of our infrastructure and our economies to digital platforms, we have to be careful in making sure that this doesn't become a lawless, low-level battlefield. And we've started trying to put together some principles that were adopted in the G20, the G7, and at the UN levels, but a lot more work remains to be done on that front.
Ja, ich möchte als erstes
Well, allow me, if I may, to underline, first of all, that I'm very much impressed that in spite of a very tough election campaign, this transition period in the United States of America, because it follows democratic principles, is working smoothly, because this is all about the American people. It's about the destiny of the American people. The outgoing administration is sharing its knowledge, its expertise with the incoming administration. And this, to us, is a sign of encouragement to continue the good cooperation that we have built between the United States of America and the Federal Republic of Germany, and that is in our mutual interest. So we will continue this. I will continue this with, I approach this with an open mind, and I'll do it on the basis of a deep conviction with President-elect Donald Trump. Secondly, on Russia, I can only repeat what the President said previously. This is all about respecting certain principles, and I'm saying this from a European vantage point, from a German vantage point, sorry. The fact that for over 70 years we have been able to enjoy peace, to live in peace, very much depends on territorial integrity and sovereignty of each and every European country being respected. In view of European history, the reverse would be the start of a very bitter road down a slippery slope, and we have to nip this in the bud. We have to stand up resolutely against any such attempts, but we are pinning our hopes on political efforts. This is why we launched the Normandy process in close coordination with the United States of America. And particularly from a German perspective, from the European perspective, I can only say again, Russia is our neighbor. Just look at Poland, the sort of European perspective this has. So we have an interest in seeing this relationship be a good one. We have a lot of historical ties, of course, a history that we share, but this mustn't keep us from, wherever we feel there are very grave differences of opinion, to raise them with them. But again, with political means, and always trying to work for political settlements. And this is what I'm going to continue to work on with all my heart. So on the question whether I will put up a candidacy, I will do this at the appropriate time, and this is not today.
Deutsche Presseagentur Christina Dunz.
German press agency Christina Dunz. Mr. President, your country is divided. You, as first black president, as first African-American president, who did so many things so differently, who raised so much hope all over the world. Do you think that you have perhaps, in a way, put too much of a strain, maybe too much of demands on the Americans? And to what extent do you think your successor may well be a threat to the rest of the world, to the security, because there are, after all, nuclear weapons here in Germany to which he has access? Now, will you want to be now, Madam Chancellor, see to it under this new administration, try to make Europe and Germany less dependent on the United States? And are you afraid of this wave of populism hitting Germany, hitting Europe as well? And a personal question. President Obama paid tribute to you as an outstanding politician. You are somewhat more sober in when you describe your partner. How difficult is it for you to take leave today of your partner?
My guiding principle as president has been to try to do the right thing, even when it's not politically convenient, to look at long-term trends in our economy, in our society, in the international sphere, and using my best judgment, shape policies that will serve the American people, keep them safe, keep our economy growing, put people back to work, and best ensure peace, cooperation, and stability around the world. And based on current surveys of public opinion in the United States, it turns out that the majority of Americans think I've done a pretty good job, that we haven't, in fact, gone too fast, as you describe it. But what is certainly true is that the American people, just like the German people, just like the British and people around the world, are seeing extraordinarily rapid change. The world is shrinking, economies have become much more integrated, and demographics are shifting. Because of the internet and communications, the clash of cultures is much more direct. People feel, I think, less certain about their identity, less certain about economic security. They're looking for some means of control. And what that means is that the politics in all of our countries is going to require us to manage technology and global integration and all these demographic shifts in a way that makes people feel more control, that gives them more confidence in their future, but does not resort to simplistic answers or divisions of race or tribe or a crude nationalism, which I think can be contrasted to the pride and patriotism that we all feel about our respective countries. I think that our politics everywhere are going to be going through this bumpy phase. But as long as we stay true to our democratic principles, as long as elections have integrity, as long as we respect freedom of speech, freedom of religion, as long as there are checks and balances in our governments so that the people have the ability to not just make judgments about how well government is serving them, but also change governments if they're not serving them well, then I have confidence that over the long term, progress will continue. And I think it's especially important for those of us who believe in a world where we're interdependent, that believes in mutual interests and mutual respect between nations. It's particularly important